Hi everyone, I'm Alyxandra Gillett. I teach at Diocesan School for Girls in Auckland. I'm in my second year of teaching and my subjects are English and Religious Studies. Sonia asked me to present today about the GafeSummit, the Google Apps for Education Summit that was held earlier this week at Albany Senior High School, which we've just seen from Michaela, on the 29th and 30th of April. For me, it was a really engaging, uplifting experience. I'd never been to a conference of that size or on these topics, education in New Zealand, and it was really amazing to get the opportunity to connect with international people as well as all these incredible local people with what they're doing. I went there with kind of a threefold purpose, to learn how to help my students, to learn how to help my colleagues, and to learn how to help myself. Basically, I had a lot of ideas about what education using technology should look like, but I didn't really know how to put that into practice. So this was kind of really answered for me, or at least opened up for me on the first day. Swan, who works from Google in Sydney, kind of phrased this in his keynote, what does technology enable? And he really summed it up in terms of two key things, and that was creativity and personalised learning. And so that's really given me a focus to kind of reflect on what I was taking away and ask, am I using technology simply as a replacement as an English teacher? Are they just typing their essay instead of writing it? Or are they using it in creative and innovative ways? And how can I personalise that learning for my students instead of simply differentiating to different groups? Something that I engage with a lot with my colleagues at school is this idea that students don't have any knowledge anymore and that they just Google things. And I find this really interesting because I've been using technology and the internet as part of my daily life for over half my life now, and I just Google things as well. And I think it's really interesting, and there was actually a piece in the Herald this morning about this as well, that our expectations of how and why we retain knowledge need to change in terms with the expectations that we have of our students. One thing that is really key for me as I kind of help some of my colleagues start to use technology in new ways is this idea of how and why are we engaging with it, and how can I empower and support them. And a presentation by Richard Wells shared this idea of this pencil metaphor, that we're all at kind of different stages and maybe different motivations for integrating technology in our schools, and what our role is and how we can support our colleagues. And he came away with some really kind of interesting incentives. And I think the biggest thing that he suggested that perhaps resonated with me is that our colleagues are also learners. Just because we're teachers doesn't mean that we can't learn, and that engaging them in technology is perhaps about understanding the best ways that they learn as well. A poster that was on my wall when I first entered my classroom said, "This is a risk-taking, mistake-making classroom," and I left it up because as a new teacher I didn't really have a lot of my own posters. But I think it really shares a lot about what technology needs to do in our classrooms, and that we need to try and not be afraid of failure. And this comes back to something that Jim Sill said, that we aren't necessarily the masters of the knowledge, but we're the most experienced learners in the room, and that's something we can share with our students. That we shouldn't be afraid to play, that technology is trial and error, and that can be where some of the best learning happens. And summing up, it was an incredible conference. These people were amazing and really, really inspired me to take stuff away and keep working. So there's some links, and I'd love to kind of hear more from you about how you're using technology in the classroom. Thank you very much for listening.